you're not going off of the generic shapes that are in the formula. You're specifying it and tailoring it to the person that's in front of you. You could definitely see this, right? Yeah. Okay. So I've gone for kind of sharper corners on the chin, or I'm sorry, on the jaw. You want to think in terms of circle, square, and triangle as you're drawing. So you'll see on this layout portion that I'm placing my features based on those shapes. When I look at the nose, I'm going to establish it as a triangle, eyes as circles, and the mouth. For now, I'll just do it as a line. I've placed the features based on where I'm seeing them on the face. Now, of course, it's this version of Caricature. It's more portrait, but it's also like stylized enough so that you don't have to hyperventilate about whether or not it's super accurate. It gives you that kind of that grace, that freedom to use your own artistic license. So next thing that I tend to do is draw the irises, and you just kind of go from there. I kind of like drew really rapidly last semester when I did this demo, and I think I started to lose people, so I'm going to try to narrate this a little bit more. I just chipped off the sides of that initial triangle, so now we've got like this kite diamond shape. Oh, I just realized you can't see this.
Well, I'm able to look at it.
That's true. Yeah, all right. There. How's that?
That works.
All right. Yeah, sorry. I'm glad I didn't go too far. I've chipped that off, so we've got this kind of like diamond kite shape. This is indicating the front of the nostril, or the front cartilage of the nose, and that leaves the remaining two triangles here. Those are the nostrils themselves. As far as the corners of the mouth, you notice that there's like a diagonal connection coming off of the sides of the nose. So there's a correlation to the location of the nose and the location of the mouth. Does that make sense? Eyebrows cut across here, so I'm going to rest those on top of the eyes, and we just kind of keep chipping away here. I notice that the bottom of the circle is already kind of indicating the lower lip, like the location there, and since in the pose the model is sitting still and there's not much of an expression, she's got a straight face, I've got the mouth kind of set straight. I just did a center line here for the upper lip, and I'm doing two opposing triangles on either end that I'm kind of duplicating down here. Remember that the opening of the mouth is like the letter M stretched across, or a wave, or whatever you'd like to call it. The upper eyelid the upper eyelid stretches, and the lower eyelid hugs the eye. Could you look up at me just 1 second? Yeah, so I just drew without looking, so I've got to actually look at the shape of her eye, and it's not as triangular as I made it. It's curved a little bit more on the side. It comes down. There's a softness to the expression, and I didn't capture that at first. It was a little too intense. So it's all subtlety. So initially it looked like she was going to have these large bug cartoon eyes, and those are really actually placing the sockets, those first circles that you draw. You can end up tilting the eyebrows, like they're up and kind of straight, like there's this dignified look to the expression. And I noticed that the eyebrow to our left lifts up a little bit more, so it's not entirely like flat and stoic. And bring the chin up a little bit, soften the jaw. I'm kind of defining the actual chin here, just so that we can see it as a form that's coming out towards us. There's a dimple in the chin, so I'm just kind of connecting that to the upper portion. of the upper lip. As far as the nose goes, that front cartilage I'm seeing as, again, triangular, so I make kind of a diamond upper triangle portion shape on that front cartilage, and the cartilage itself I'm connecting down to the lower portion of the nose. It's round and soft there. The actual nostril comes down, kind of triangulated, and comes across. So that might be the nose. I noticed like a flat plane on the bottom, so I've kind of indicated that as a line going across, but it's not perfectly straight. It kind of dives down there, and the bridge of the nose then comes up and connects to the eyebrow. That makes sense so far? Hair, it's shorter up top because of the weight of the hair pulling down. So I've backed it away from the eyebrows and kind of is tight to the skull, and then flares out, having more body as it moves down towards the shoulder. It's coming in front of this, behind both ears, but it's over this shoulder and behind the other. I forgot the ears. I always tend to. Well, I noticed the placement of the ears. In the tutorial, I said that the ears take place between the eyebrow and the bottom of the nose. That's generic. It varies person to person. It also is going to vary based on your perspective. So the way, since I'm beneath Sophia, I'm actually seeing her ears right in alignment with the corners of the eyes, and it goes almost to her mouth. So that's my perspective. So you just kind of use the facial features to find the location, and I'm setting them as kind of these tilted pitched rectangles, and then dividing up the interior of the space. So looking at the upper portion of the lobe first as a kind of triangular shape, and another triangle as like the interior of the ear. So if we zoom in on this, I don't know if it'll keep its focus. It's pretty simple. You see a triangle, you see two parallel lines, you see another triangle there. It's basically just two triangles that are establishing the interior of the ear. Feel free to interrupt at any point if I'm either going too fast or not being clear, if you have any questions at all. Kind of rectangle there for that side of the ear. And then establishing the kind of patterns and shapes that we see in the actual hair coming down instead of as strands. So I'm seeing this as like a larger rectangle. It would go off the page because our hair is so long, but we're kind of like looking for ways to frame this. This is placing the collar. So I would probably have this hair just go straight off the page. This has to be a little closer. It comes out there. So this might be the extent of my, I forgot the pupils. This might be the extent of roughing out with the colored pencil. And again, I tend to do this with a non-photo blue pencil, which is like a softer blue. I don't have that here. I'm just using an aqua colored pencil. But if you wanted to use light pink or orange or whatever else, like any light colored pencil, that's up to you. You're welcome to choose that. I am actually going to soften this colored pencil just so it's not in my way moving forward. The the non-photo blue pencil is wonderful because it is so soft anyway. It allows me to think without committing. So I'm just going to knock this back with the eraser. I'll still be able to see it. It'll still permeate through the rest of the drawing, but it won't be as bold or as dark. I'll still be able to think and make changes. So at this stage now, I've knocked it back. I'm going to switch to a graphite pencil, and this is just standard Ticonderoga, but you could use a B pencil. And I'm going to use the graphite to try to polish up and define a little bit better the shapes that I'm going to be dealing with. Because the green, or the aqua, that was a little bit more like rough layout. And here I want to kind of more clearly define how this is going to look. The expression is changing a little bit Whenever you're working from life, the model does move and change. I lost count of how many faces I caricatured, but I did it from 2009 until 2019, like right before the pandemic. I would go to fairs and festivals and whatever else. So it may have surpassed 1,000 faces. What I've noticed that regardless of age, gender, or race, everybody actually really looks alike. It's maddening to realize how much everyone looks alike, because when you're trying to draw them, if something is off by just a little bit, it becomes a different person. So it's all subtlety, and I try never to erase, because it makes your customer lose confidence in you, actually. And if you're doing this properly, you don't actually you can still think while you're drawing. So as I'm thinking, I'm pulling the jaw in. It's also harder for me to talk and do this at the same time. So the expressions changed a tiny bit. I'm trying to give her a little bit more of a sense of like the hopefulness that I see in her face. Like, I hope that this drawing comes out. I think at various times there's more of a relaxed quality to the face. It changes. So I typically, like when I'd be doing this live, like for a customer, it would be about anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes, depending on how it's going, how complex it is, if the customer's talking to me, because then that slows me down. But obviously in this case I'm going a lot slower because I'm trying to explain to you what I'm doing, so you can follow along. I'm indicating a little bit some of the marks that we see in the face. I'm indicating like eyelids and like any present of the eye socket. But if you go overboard with that in the line phase, you're going to really age your figure. So that's fine if your figure is older. But what are you, 14, 15? 15. Since Sophia's 15, 15 is closer to 10 than it is to 20, so the lines aren't all that defined yet. So it's all still there, and you kind of can forecast what this person will look like as they're older, but she's not there yet, and that's good. So we don't want to rush her. When you're selecting your figures to draw, I typically recommend starting with the oldest figure. The reason being, things are so much more exaggerated because older people have more distinguished and defined features. The nose is larger, the ears are larger, those never stop growing. The lower portion of your lip, that also never stops growing. So you're going to notice that there'll be a point in time, maybe in your 60s, where your lower lip is going to start to detach itself from the pigmented area. The pigmented area of your lip is going to stay behind, and the rest of your lip is going to continue to grow further. The reason I'm saying your 60s, I was looking at my parents yesterday, and I'm looking at my grandmother. My grandmother's 93, and hers is like protruded forward. But I was like, I wonder when this starts to happen. So I was looking at my parents, and they're in their 60s, and it started for them. So probably in your 60s. People I know in their 50s, they don't seem to have that yet. What I'm doing now is just using a few quick kind of scribble lines to indicate some of the lighting on the hair. Yeah, so anyway, the wrinkles on the face in an older person, it's going to make it easier to see. Everything is so much more subtle when you're drawing a child. The other difficult thing when you're drawing a child, if it's a person sitting in front of you, is they don't sit still. So even an adult will kind of squirm around. It's a lot to kind of sit through. So Sophia, you're doing a great job. And I'm trying to do a great job, but it's like the pressure's on, because you want to honor the subject, but you also want to have a little creative freedom. It's this weird balance. It's also first period, so it's really hard. Like, I typically take an hour or two to just to wake up, and that's even with the coffee. So this may have turned out very differently at the end of the day versus this morning. We're going to do these on individual sheets of paper. I'm on basically the same sheet of Bristol board that you used when we did the character designs. That way, if something doesn't work out, you have the freedom to eliminate. So the next stage, after I've established the linear setup in graphite, so we're going to switch to one of these graphite blending tools. And I'm going to start in the hair and collect basically all this graphite, and I'm going to try to avoid areas that are really highlighted. What this is going to do is establish more of a sense of unity and sculpt her. The human face isn't made up of line, it's made up of light and shadow and tone. So I think in terms of the approach here, that's what's going to set these drawings apart from the big head, little body, generic cartoony caricatures that you see at a lot of fairs. I feel like if someone's going to sit for you, you should actually try to get it to look like them as opposed to just stock illustration. We're moving down the forehead now. I don't think I've mentioned this term with you, but you'll hear it a lot in the painting classes. It's called vertical attachment. And actually, when we do the abstract piece, it's important there too. Vertical attachment is an abstract painting technique where you start with a tone or a color or element of lighting. You begin at the top and you distribute it all the way down the bottom. And if we start on the right, then we move to the center, then we move to the left. So it's engaging. Put that away. It's engaging and activating, distributing everything in your drawing. So what I'm doing is pulling it, now that I've collected the graphite from the hair, because that's where the most darks were, I'm pulling that down into the face. I just needed to get the material onto the tool. So I noticed the shadow coming down the side of the forehead, and it spills down into the eye socket. The lighting here is good. There's ambient lighting. See, the light doesn't go, the dark doesn't go all the way to the side of of her face. So I'm not bringing the light all the way down the side of the face. I'm changing the direction of the mark as I move down the form too, so it's following the direction of the form. Just comes across as kind of a rectangle there in the chin. So along the way, that has to find its way into the eyebrow, and you see that the eyebrow spills right into the side of the nose. So now, see how three-dimensional that is? It's just by taking the same tone and pushing it into the side of the nose. It's also relaxing her quite a bit, because before, you look over there, that is an intense eye. This is now set back. And I haven't even dealt with the eye itself yet. So that comes down the side of the nose. The nose is casting a shadow on this cheek. So I just backed off the pressure as I moved it in towards this cheek. There's dark on the front of the nose here. The nostrils casting a shadow on the upper lip. Dark there. The upper lip is darker than the lower lip, typically with this type of lighting. That's from the tutorial. Dark here on the side. There's a little dark on this dimple here. Dark here, it's triangular. Don't forget the neck. Shadow cast on the neck. You can see the tendons. The hair's casting a shadow on this side of the neck. Even though that side is closer to the window, it's also being obscured by the hair. The hair's wrapping around and casting a shadow onto the neck. The eye itself, like I said, I skipped. We'll start with the pupil, soften that, and then pull out into the iris. It didn't take much, but placing on the pupil, pulling a line up towards the upper eyelid, down towards the lower eyelid. It didn't shade the whole thing. It gives it a little bit more of a gleam. The lower eyelid, there's a little bit of a shadow here, and it pulls in, and then there's a shadow here on the corner. As you age, this is starting to happen to me. And like I said, I'm in my upper 30s. You'll start to see a defining of the outside of the eye socket. Right now, you can all at your age see presence of the eye socket in towards your nose. Right about early to mid 30s, you're going to start to see the other side of your eye socket defined in here. But you're not there yet. So older people just kind of notice that you're probably going to see more shadow coming in on the side here. That's why those initial circles that we made are helpful. The eyelashes, I'm just going to pull the tone over that. That was a little too dark, but I'll fix that after. And like one little swipe to show like the wrinkle in the eyelid. That's really set far back, but like I said, we'll clean this up a little bit after. So I've basically activated the right and the center. I've got to move in towards the left a little bit more. There's a bit of shadow cast on the lower portion of the nose. There's a tiny bit of triangle shading here on that temple. Embed the eyebrow, come down towards the lower eyelid there. See, now that feels like it's a rounded bone, like the eye socket has a rounded quality to it. Again, kind of trace the eyelash. That sets it back in space. It also casts a shadow on the white of the eye. Same thing. Touch the pupil, pull out on the upper portion of the iris, on the lower portion of the iris to engage the eye. Lower eyelid, kind of just reinforcing that little corner there. This has like a little plane change here. So indicating that there's a shadow cast by the nose there on that lip. Just because there's a slight smile here, there's a soft little fold on the cheek there. So we indicate that. That actually kind of it goes down further than I expected. It kind of moves. I'm just pressing down very lightly. It moves down towards the chin there. There's also a little bit of shadow cast on the side of the chin, and that might do it over here. The final stage, I'm just going to actually kind of just, in terms of like decoration, I just did 2 marks to indicate like wrinkles in 3 marks. Wrinkles in the sweatshirt, but I'm not going to get too obsessed about any of that. This is called vignette. It's actually something we're doing in the painting class right now. Vignettes are small decorative drawings that they don't go edge to edge. They dissipate and incorporate with their surroundings. So the next and final stage, you switch back to your graphite pencil and you're going to use the eraser to draw and clean up your highlights. So I'm starting up in the hair and I'm just pulling lines along to sharpen up some of my highlights. This is also going to texturize the hair and give it a sense of some strands receiving light and other strands not. I'm going to do this sparingly. Anywhere I need to like clean up in the facial features, like if I ran out of the lines, like I think I set up here like the eyelash was too much, so I'm just gonna bring that along. There's a highlight on the lower lip that I want to make sure I have. I think actually it's not so bad. I'm probably gonna not have much to do with the eraser. Sometimes you might have a lot, sometimes you might have a little. Then you swing it around and you're going to deepen some of the strongest darks with the graphite. And this is just basically like barreling down on the pencil. I'm still working like loosely and trying to keep some energy here. This also, again, if this was live, or I mean it is live, but I mean if this was like a customer who had been sitting for a while and they would just want to get back to their family, it's also like I gotta hurry up. It's also there's more urgency if I have a line of people waiting. So it's like time is money. Keep moving them so that you can make the most out of your time. Deepening the shadows here on the side of the hair because it's really often in shadow. It gets darker as it moves down by the shoulder here, but maybe not as much as I had before. It's a little darker here. I don't need to press down like as much everywhere. Like in some spots I want it to be super dark, but in other areas not. I just realized I totally ignored the ears I don't know why that's a thing with me. I'm always ignoring the ears. But we'll just knock that in space a little bit. Deepen that. The pupil, definitely want to revisit, darken those. I'm just going to do single or dual lines on the irises. Slight little hatching marks. Hatching marks are these, like they're just lines going back and forth. I just did that a little bit on the upper portion of the eyelash to texturize it. Not much though. Her lower eyelashes are really soft, like they're thin, so there's not much of an indication of those, so I'm not going to do anything with that. Just kind of reinforce this front plane. Upper lip actually should be lighter right here. Lighten that, reinforce kind of the opening of the mouth a little bit. Reinforce the plane of the chin coming in front of the neck. A little bit on the hair here. There's not much though. Like this drawing's pretty much finished. It's just some of these little touches might make a difference. And that's it. What's today? April.
10th, I think.
April 10th. Oh, tomorrow's my niece's birthday. She's gonna be 1. There.
Cool.
Any questions? Does that make sense? If you